Introducing the 2024 All-Western Trombone Christmas Concert. With the 2024 Trombone Christmas Grand Marshal, Bob Sanders. The Trombone Christmas President Conductor, Fennell. Yours truly, Rich Bullock. Ladies and gentlemen, you've already heard his name, but again, please welcome the 2024 Trombone Christmas Special Conductor, Mitch Fennell. Clara and the Prince travel in a nutshell boat pulled by dolphins to the beautiful land of sweets in Conductor. Try saying that after a couple of glasses of eggnog. Ruled by the Sugar Plum Fairy. The prince recounts to the Sugar Plum Fairy how he had been saved by Clara from the Mouse King and had been transformed back into a prince. In honor of the young heroine, a celebration of sweets from around the world is produced. Chocolate from Spain, coffee from Arabia, and tea from China all dance for their amusement. Candy canes from Russia perform a dance. Danish shepherdesses perform on their flutes. Mother Gigung has her children emerge from under her enormous skirt to dance. A string of beautiful flowers perform a waltz. To conclude the night, the Sugar Plum Fairy and her Cavalier dance. No, this is not the plot of a new show combining the sci-fi and the Food Channel, or an episode of Twilight Zone. It is, of course, a small section of the plot from Tchaikovsky's masterpiece, The Nutcracker. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. Very nice, very nice. The anticipation of Christmas and all the thoughts that go with it have been the subject of many Christmas songs. A great example of this feeling comes from the songwriting team of Wayne Jackson and Roger Cook. Made popular by Amy Grant, this is Christmas Can't Be Very Far Away. Thank you very much. Now, something really special. The bass trombone is the most glorious musical instrument known to mankind, and our next tune features all of our marvelous bass trombone players. The views and opinions just expressed by your announcer do not necessarily reflect those of Trombone Christmas or any tenor player in their right mind. And, besides the fact that Mitch is a bass trombone player, Bob's a bass trombone player, Lynn Wicks is a bass trombone player, and I'm a bass trombone player. That has nothing to do with any of this, does it, Mitch? No. Well, in any event, here is Oh Christmas Tree. Bass trombones and tenor trombones and drum set. All right. Okay. Our next song was around for 100 years and went through just as many variations before it was officially published. The original tune appears to have been written by Handel, but there are no records of who originally borrowed the melody. In 1839, the version that we know today was published by Lowell Mason and has become the most published hymn in North America, Joy to the World. All right, majestic, yes. Well, during recent years, a popular subject of discussion at holiday gatherings is whether or not the 1980s movie Die Hard is a Christmas film. To add to the pro-Christmas movie argument is the fact that the last name of the villain in the movie, played magnificently by the late, great Alan Rickman, is Gruber. The name of the composer of our next song is also Gruber. Coincidence? How's that for a conspiracy theory, huh? Well, in any event, here is Franz Xavier Gruber's Christmas classic, Silent Night. Beautiful, beautiful. The Jewish tradition of Hanukkah always coincides with the Christmas holiday season. In celebration of this time, we present a piece of music simply entitled, "Oh Hanukkah." Anderson was a graduate of Harvard where he became fluent in Danish, Norwegian, Icelandic, German, French, Italian, and Portuguese. Besides languages, he studied music composition. During World War II, he served in the U.S. Counterintelligence Corps, where his language skills were put to good use. After the war, he started to work on his next composition, which was debuted by Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops in 1948. We now present his immortal classic, Sleigh Ride. Welcome back to the second half of our concert, ladies and gentlemen. You've already heard from him, you've already heard his name, but anyway, please welcome the 2024 Trombone Christmas Grand Marshal, Bob Sanders. Every art form produces at some point the perfect representation. It may not necessarily be the best, but it has all the key elements of that art form. In 1751, the perfect representation of Christmas church hymn was published by John Reading. Ladies and gentlemen, "O come all ye faithful."
majestic.
Wow, incredible. Well, our next song is one of the rare times something good comes from a Hollywood remake. In 1950, Paramount was looking for a new story for actor Bob Hope. They seized upon an earlier film about a con man who dresses up in a Santa Claus suit. Along with adding some snappy dialogue and a new leading lady, Paramount asked the songwriting team of Jay Livingston and Ray Evans to write 3 new songs. One of these was so impressive that Bing Crosby latched onto it and recorded it before the film was even released, creating the classic track we know today. From the 1951 Paramount film The Lemon Drop Kid, here is Silver Bells. Very nice, very nice. Frank Lesser was a very successful Broadway songwriter who wrote a duet for him and his new wife. Well, the wife declared it to be their song. Like most of the great songwriters, he was eventually lured to Hollywood. On one assignment, he was pressured to come up with a duet for Esther Williams and Ricardo Montalban. Out of ideas, he gave MGM his wife's cherished song for the 1949 picture, Neptune's Daughter. It was recorded by many people over the years, but didn't become a Christmas song until Dean Martin included it on his 1960 Christmas album. So what did Mrs. Lesser tell Mr. Lesser when she found out their song was going to be in an MGM musical? Well, aside from wanting half of the proceeds, she said, "Baby, it's cold outside."
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3.
Wanna, take your voice and girls, son. Okay, nice. Okay, this next introduction's a little bit long, so kind of hang in there with me, folks. You know, don't nod off, but we'll get to it. In 1847, Baptiste Capot du Roquemar was the commissionaire of wines in a small French town. Known more for his poetry than his church attendance, it probably shocked Baptiste when his parish priest asked the commissionaire to pen a poem for Christmas Mass. Nevertheless, the poet was honored to share his talents with the church. Using the Gospel of Luke as its guide, Capot imagined witnessing the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem. Thoughts of being present on the blessed night inspired him. By the time he arrived in Paris, Cantique de Noël had been completed. Moved by his own work, Capot decided that his Cantique de Noël was not just a poem, but a song in need of a master musician's hand. Not musically inclined himself, the poet turned to one of his friends, Adolphe Charles Adams, for help. As a man of Jewish ancestry, for Adolphe, the words of Cantique de Noël represented a day he didn't celebrate, but nevertheless, Adams quickly went to work, attempting to marry an original score to Capot's beautiful words. Adams's finished work pleased both poet and priest. The song was performed just 3 weeks after its completion. Here is O Holy Night. Simply sonorous, beautiful. Reverend John Henry Hopkins Jr. was an author, book illustrator, stained glass window designer, and clergyman. He was also in charge of his church's Christmas pageant, which had gotten quite a good reputation over the years. In 1857, he wanted to add the story of the wise men that brought gifts to the baby Jesus. The only problem was that there were no songs in the church hymnal that worked with the scene. Determined to make it work, Reverend Hopkins wrote his own song. Here is We Three Kings of Orient Are. danced off stage and, headed to get a glass of wine or something, Anyway, that was a wonderful performance. Anyway, American heritage is preserved in many ways. In 1907, John W. Wirtz III, a professor at Fisk University and a professional musician, compiled and published Folk Songs of the American Negro, a songbook designed to preserve and promote African American folklore. As part of that effort, he discovered our next song, which dates back before the Civil War. Here is Go Tell It on the Mountain.
A 1, a 2, a 1.
In 1965, the Broadway composer Jerry Herman had the idea of transforming the 1956 play Auntie Mame into a musical. He had an actress in mind for the lead, but the producers and directors had many other ideas. After a long and tedious process, Jerry got his way. So after her days at MGM Studios and before she settled down in Cabot Cove, Angela Lansbury got the part. To honor her great career, here is a Christmas song from the great Broadway musical name, We Need a Little Christmas. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the last song of this year's performance, but before we get into it, I think it's only right we give another round of applause to our resident conductor, Mitch Fennell, our 2024 Grand Marshal, Bob Sanders, the leadership of Bones West, Doug Reed, Lynn Wicks, Mark Divers, and anybody else I neglected to mention, but above all, the ladies and gentlemen of our wonderful trombone choir. hot August day in 1946, a young Hollywood songwriter arrived at a friend's house where he noticed a notepad with random things jotted on it like chestnuts roasting and Yuletide carols. The friend explained that it was so hot he was writing a list of things that reminded him of Christmas in its much cooler weather. 40 minutes and 2 cold beers later, well, that's what they say. One of the all-time most popular Christmas tunes was written by Mel Torme and Bob Wells. It so captured the essence of the season that it has come to be known simply as the Christmas song. This concludes this year's concert, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. We hope you enjoyed it. And on behalf of All-Western Trombone Christmas, I'm your MC, Rich Bullock. Thank you for coming, and we hope to see you again next year. And be careful, because about 100 trombone players are about to hit the road.